Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frank Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, the constituent, to know the truth. But remember, fam, we will not be silenced. If you're really about the cause and you really want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders accountable, well, make sure you subscribe to our social media platforms. You can subscribe to both Frankie Olivo page on Facebook, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube page titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. So make sure you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV to tune in. We will not be silenced, fam. And always remember, Brownsville, I am forever grateful to each and every one of you for your time and your attention. Thank you so much for that. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Friday, TGIF, the day we've all been waiting for. It seems as if Sunday night, Monday morning, we say, I can't wait till it's Friday. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about a very interesting topic. And like how Hernandez says, hey, BISD one day, Starbase the next, weed is the next topic. I want to show you, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm very versatile. I'm not a one-trick pony. We pride ourselves in providing you, the community, with different topics that are important for us. While BISD city elections were something that we did focus on because, well, during the elections, that was going on, the runoff elections. BISD, they just appointed a new board member, so we focused on that. We go wherever the story is, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to bore you. I don't want you to feel as if Good Morning Brownsville only focuses on one issue. No, we want to talk about everything that's going on, because at the end of the day, we feel as if these are important matters that you should know about. Remember, we want to be a news agency. We want to be your source for information. And once again, we are very humbled and thankful by the response that we've been getting. We've been getting views by the thousands, and I'm forever grateful for that, Brownsville. It just gives me more motivation, and it tells me that we're onto something good. We're onto something big, and I'm thankful for that. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to focus on a very important issue that has been happening in Austin. We titled our program, I Smoke 2 Joints in the Morning, I Smoke 2 Joints at Night. For those that aren't aware, that is a very famous Sublime song. Back in the 90s, late 90s, if you were a heavy metaler or if you were just a rocker, you listened to Sublime. I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about something very interesting that happened at the state capitol, where we had the governor and the lieutenant governor, two of the most powerful positions in the state of Texas, are at odds. I want to talk about marijuana. Marijuana, if we've noticed throughout the country, we have seen how states such as Nevada, the state of Washington, Colorado, California have adopted the use of recreational marijuana. The question is, Texas being a hardcore state, we're gun owners. We believe in the death penalty. One question remains, is Texas going to follow suit? Are we going to be a state that is going to allow for recreational marijuana? There's already some forms of THC, some forms of medicinal medical marijuana. Are casinos going to come up? Well, we'll be tackling those issues in the very, very near future. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to focus on marijuana, THC. And the very important thing that I want you to focus on, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is a battle between hemp, THC, something that is somewhat natural, versus big pharmaceutical companies. That is what we will focus on today. That this, ladies and gentlemen, is a fight between the big powers, that is the pharmaceutical companies, that they want to get rid. They pay these politicians because they want to get rid of this cheaper access, which is THC. Why? Because they want to continue to flood us with pills. They want to keep us addicted with narcotics. And that is how we will start today's show. Thank you for tuning in, Brownsville.
In reading the proclamation, one can only come to this conclusion, which surprises me. The governor of the state of Texas wants to legalize recreational marijuana in Texas. The last time I talked to the governor in the Capitol before session, he said, don't worry about the bill. He said, your bill is fine. That's what he told me in front of witnesses. We're not Colorado, and we're not Oregon, and we're not Washington State. We're Texas. And I will not sign a bill that legalizes marijuana in Texas. If we don't pass a bill that regulates hemp and marijuana, then the status quo continues in those 8,000 shops, and they keep selling all this poison, and kids keep getting sick, and parents keep losing their children, and people walk out in front of trains and people shoot somebody. And by the way, if that happens, I'm sorry, Governor, it's not on us. We'd abandon it.
Now, before we start with today's program, I do want to give you a little background into this issue. Now, as you heard the lieutenant governor talk Sunday night, Governor Abbott surprisingly vetoed SB Bill 3, which would essentially eliminate. It was designed to eliminate THC. That way, all these 8,000 THC stores that sell gummies, cookies, chips, and all kinds of stuff that is low enough to calm people down. If I can give you a little insight into this issue in question that we're dealing with. Now, people, if you aren't aware, people use THC infused products for many different reasons. Some use it to go to sleep. Some use it for anxiety. Why do they use this product? Well, because this is the alternative to pharmaceuticals. We're talking about opioids, codeine, the big stuff that has effects on your body that makes you addicted to it. When we talk about our veterans, seniors, these are individuals who prefer to use THC. Why? Because it is a safer alternative than some of this bad stuff that big pharma produces. Now, again, the governor late Sunday night did something that was very shocking, which caused the lieutenant governor to go up in arms. On Monday, he issued that press conference when Governor Abbott vetoed SB 3. Now, by banning this bill, Dan Patrick uses the excuse that this is always about the children. And it seems as if all politicians use that rhetoric, right? Oh, no, this is all about the children. It's always about the children, that he wants to protect the children from this bad stuff, from this nasty stuff. Now, I think there is a broad spectrum of support from seniors, from veterans, grassroots, and even Republicans. They see that this bill is bad. Why? Because they see what's out there. They see the damage that these pharmaceutical companies have on people's body. And one thing that Dan Patrick said in that video that I just showed was, well, this is a gateway drug to other drugs, which in my opinion, it is not. He said, oh, if a child consumes THC, you know, he's going to run in front of a train and he's going to kill people and he's going to do crazy things. He posted on X. He posted on X late Sunday night, and he stated, throughout the legislative session, Governor Abbott remained totally silent on Senate Bill 3, the bill that would have banned dangerous THC products in Texas. His late night veto on an issue supported by 105 of the 108 Republicans in the legislature, strongly backed by law enforcement, many in the medical and educational communities, and the families who have seen their loved ones destroyed by this very dangerous drug, leaves them feeling abandoned. I feel especially bad for those who testified and poured their hearts out on their tragic losses. I will have much more to say at the press conference in Austin. And again, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack, but when have we heard someone that has overdosed on marijuana, on THC? When I was growing up, ladies and gentlemen, during school, I wasn't exposed to drugs until my senior year. And not that I consumed them, but I was just around them. Surprisingly, it was in our high school football locker room. That is where someone says, "Hey, you want cocaine?" I was like, "What do you mean you want cocaine? You have cocaine?" Then I guess back in the day, all I heard was marijuana and cocaine. That's all we heard. Well, me personally, did hard substances, hard illicit narcotics exist back then? Yes. I was not privy to that. My friends that I associated with were mainly athletes, and I guess they would dab and stuff like that. But I freaked out when somebody said, "You want cocaine?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Now, ladies and gentlemen, now with what's going on in the use of illicit substances from our younger generation, you and I know that it's getting worse. Things such as whippets were around back then, but now it seems to be a common theme. Percocets, pills, dangerous narcotics that I personally was not aware of. Meth seems to be something that's big nowadays too, and there's all these concoctions. Fent also is out there, but now there's different concoctions and narcotics out there that our young teenage population is exposed of. Now, I'm not here to say that it's safe for kids, for students to consume THC, to consume marijuana. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, it is my opinion that marijuana and THC, we can't compare that to the likes of heroin, meth, fentanyl, Percocets, LSD. What's the other one? Other illicit substances. Maybe you have a difference of opinion. Maybe you categorize THC with those same drugs. And if that's your opinion, that is your opinion. But we have seen people who have unfortunately been consumed by these hard illicit substances, by meth. What do they look like? They look like zombies. Their face has the effects of their consumption. Now, what is interesting to learn from this issue has been, and I want to stress it, fam. I know I have production in my ear right now saying, "Frankie, please do not repeat yourself." But what happened at the biggest stage in Austin, Texas, at the Capitol, is going to be a fight between big pharmaceutical companies that want to keep us addicted to pills versus hemp, versus marijuana, a product that seniors, that veterans consume for their anxiety, for their depression, for their PTSD. They take this to go to sleep. Many of them, not all of them. But what was interesting to learn from this, ladies and gentlemen, was the response from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, because this legislation ultimately would have banned all of the THC products that were proposed. They would ban Delta 8s. They would ban gummies. They would ban Delta 9s and other forms of THC. They would provide stricter regulations, new testing and label requirements. They were going to change the criminal penalties for these violations, such as a third-degree felony for manufacturing, selling products containing banned cannabinoids. They were going to restrict the markets in regards to this. Now, one thing that I do want to state, ladies and gentlemen, is that this information that we have been provided and have studied on is very, very important moving forward. Why? Because there seems to be something in the background, and it's always money. It's always money whenever you deal with these lobbyists, whenever you deal with these politicians. Why? Because money makes the world go round, unfortunately. You have to understand the way Texas Senate and the House works. If I can provide you with a brief background, ladies and gentlemen, according to our Texas Constitution, the most powerful person in the Capitol is not the governor, but it's the lieutenant governor. Why? Because it's the lieutenant governor that can make or break any bill, because he can determine the agenda. The state senators, they can't bring a bill to the floor unless it's done through his approval. So essentially, the lieutenant governor in the state of Texas is like a king. Let's say you have a bill that you really want passed. He can say, well, okay, give it to the floor, but you have to give us something for it. You don't believe quid pro quo exists at the very top in Austin at the Capitol? Hey, it's a cutthroat business. If it's cutthroat in Cameron County in the city of Brownsville, imagine how it is in Austin. It's cutthroat. And if you don't vote the way the lieutenant governor wants you to vote on something, he will punish you. The Senate gets a lot of stuff sent to them. Their bills, they get their bills sent early to them, to the House. And House members, they have to be nice with the Senate and pass their bills. Why? Because if not, their House bills will not get passed through the Senate. Do you understand where I'm going? That is why the lieutenant governor, ladies and gentlemen, is the most powerful position to get things passed. Now, even though he doesn't get involved in the House stuff, usually, he's paying close attention. He's watching everything that's going on. And if you're a Republican and you're voting down his bills that he wants to pass, your bills won't even make it to the Senate. Your bills are dead. They can literally go through committees, ladies and gentlemen. They can get approved by the Senate committee, but before it gets a vote on the floor, it needs to be put on the intent calendar. Now, what is the intent calendar? Those are the bills that need to get approved. It could be voted on whenever, because who decides when a bill gets voted on? The lieutenant governor. And if we study the history of Texas, every lieutenant governor in the history has been known to be a bully, and they will do whatever they want. When we talk about SB 3, SB 3 is one of the higher bills. SB 1 is budget. SB 2, we talk about teachers and education. Now, there is word out there. There is word out there that there is a family member of the lieutenant governor that is a lobbyist for Big Pharma that does not want this to pass. This bill, ladies and gentlemen, essentially will hurt the middle class, will hurt poor people. Why? Because they don't want to use their insurance to buy pills, to buy Percocets, to buy things like that. People are arguing that there is special interest in voting for THC. Why? Because they want you addicted on pills. You know those same people that passed the jab, that were pushing for the jab? Well, these same people, they have a special interest group. That they have a special interest They're trying to scare people. Oh my God, if a child consumes THC and marijuana and he gets run over by a train, it's going to be your fault, Governor. If someone gets high on weed and starts shooting up a school, it's going to be your fault, Governor. They're trying to use scare tactics with some of the bad stuff in the market. But he just doesn't understand that he just thinks that because he is the lieutenant governor, that the governor will not mess with him. But what did we see? We saw the governor come out and say, hey, this affects people, the livelihood of people. So now what do we have? We have a fight. We have a fight of two of the biggest individuals in Austin. Why? Because one represents, it seems that way, one represents special interest groups. One represents big pharma. While Governor Abbott is thinking about jobs, because again, there are 8,000 THC hemp stores in the state of Texas. So this essentially, ladies and gentlemen, is a fight between the people who consume THC. You're talking about veterans, seniors who have ailing conditions, who do not want to be addicted. Because again, pills, ladies and gentlemen, even though we don't think about it, pills, medicine have altering effects on our bodies. It's funny because everyone says, oh, I take this medication and yes, I'm cured from my illness, but something else happens. We've all heard of that, right? What's the commercial? Those commercials that say, if you have this, and this, well, if you take this medication, it's going to lead to X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Right? Am I right? So big pharma, ladies and gentlemen, their job is to keep you sick. Their job isn't to cure you. Their job isn't for you to stop going to the doctor. No, their job is for you to continue to be hooked on the pill, to be hooked on medicine. So think about it. There's these 8,000 stores. Killing SB3 essentially would eliminate these 8,000 stores that sell gummies, chips, and all kinds of products that have THC in them, which is low enough to calm people down. What do people use it for? To sleep. They don't want to get addicted to opioids. Our veterans prefer this. But what's interesting in all this, ladies and gentlemen, is, again, I want you to see the big picture. I want you to see what is going on. This is a fight. This is a fight between big pharma and THC. And what have we seen from other states, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we have seen that other states have been able to regulate. They've been able to regulate hemp-derived THC goods, which have seen that these states have benefited from it. How so? Well, states such as Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, and other states where recreational marijuana is prohibited, well, they've also pushed for more regulation on these THC consumption. This Texas bill would have been one of the more far-reaching. Why? Because it does not allow any amount of THC. We saw this in Florida, how Governor DeSantis, he essentially shot this down in the state of Florida. He said, no, this isn't good for us. We don't need this right now. And he shut it down. Now, the governor in his veto, he will be calling for a special session in July to take up this THC bill. Now, in his veto of the bill, he encouraged lawmakers to consider age restrictions, regulations around the market, even packaging, some are saying, hey, we need to work on these things. Maybe they do target. Maybe they do target children. We need to focus on these things. Because instead of an outright ban to avoid hemp farmers, pharmacists, and others from being prosecuted for owning small amounts of THC, they should consider a structure similar to the way alcohol is regulated. And someone I see here, Jose Diaz, make a very strong argument. Who would you be scared of, ladies and gentlemen? If a person was behind the wheel of a vehicle, would you be scared of an individual that is intoxicated way beyond the legal limit? Or someone that is high on THC or marijuana? I know I'm going to get flack for it. Be like, ay, Frankie, tú y los marihuanos. But it's a legitimate question. If you're driving, are you going to be more worried or scared about an individual that is on alcohol, that may not be in his five senses, that may not be able to control himself? Patricia Hernandez said, you know what? I'll be scared for both individuals. And look, ladies and gentlemen, me personally, everyone has their opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, ladies and gentlemen. And I respect people's opinion. I am no one to say you're wrong. I'm no one to say that. Me personally, I have experience with dealing with alcoholism. Not me per se, but my loved ones. Someone close to me died because of alcoholism. They died very young, very, very young. I don't consume alcohol. I'll have it every now and then for a celebration, for a birthday, but I'm not one that drinks every day. I'm not one that drinks every weekend. I'll maybe drink once a month if I do. My friends know I don't. It doesn't move me. It doesn't turn me on. Maybe because I've been scared of what I've been seeing growing up and the violence it causes. It changes people. I hate whenever I'm at a party and people get angry because they're drunk. They cause a scene. They want to fight. You know these people. We've probably been around them. When we talk about prohibition was something that ultimately got passed because it was regulated. The government always needs to get its money. And that's the way it works. We have seen states such as California, the state of Washington, Colorado. These states have been able to tax recreational marijuana, and they have improved their public infrastructure. They have provided millions of dollars for education. They have been able. Now, is it perfect? Is the model perfect? No model is perfect, but it could lead to some positive good. Don't you think? Whenever we talk about the consumption use of alcohol, more than 140,000 people die from excessive alcohol use in the United States. Alcoholism, ladies and gentlemen, is a very serious issue. And I'm telling you, I dealt with this. I saw somebody that I loved, but he couldn't let go of the bottle. And it was sad to see, ladies and gentlemen, because this person was a smart individual. He was a beautiful individual, inside and out. He just had demons. demons that didn't allow him to put down the bottle. Now, when we talk about Austin, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about Austin, it's no different. Look here. People are saying, oh, the reason why the lieutenant governor is, Gamboa says, being stoned is not the same as being drunk or tweaking. Big difference. And again, we are all entitled to our opinion. I would honestly prefer to have a friend that's a marihuano than that is a drunk or that is a tweaker on meth or crack. But that's just my opinion. Why? Because a marihuano, he's going to smoke a blunt or two, fall asleep, wake up, and eat all of your food. What is a drunk going to do? He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be violent. He's going to want to hurt people. I'm sure you've seen someone like that, and I'm sure you've been worried about somebody like that. Like, whoa, this guy can't control himself. We've all know of someone like that. I'm not making this thing up. Or a tweaker. When we talk about Austin, many people are saying that this regulation is more because of money. It's always about money. Look, here before the screen, I have in front of you the top alcohol industry donors to Dan Patrick these past 5 years. Look how much money he has been receiving, ladies and gentlemen. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let's say like $9 million in the past year from the alcohol industry. You think he's going to vote against this? You think he's going to support hemp, THC? No. Why? Well, one, because he has the big donors that are telling them not to. But also there's an issue that his daughter, that his wife, essentially is going to make a lot of money out of. And it's always the money, ladies and gentlemen. There's always a paper trail. So what happened when Governor Abbott vetoed this bill? Well, essentially, he saved the $5 billion hemp-deprived THC industry. Now, are we saying that Texas is going to allow recreational marijuana use? No. But me personally, I am a firm believer that our veterans, that our senior citizens, those with chronic conditions, they should be allowed to have this option. The pharmaceutical companies, they ruin bodies, they ruin lives. They make sure that you're dependent on their stuff. Me personally, ladies and gentlemen, I don't take pills. I don't go to the doctor. I could count the number of times on my hand which I've been sick. I don't take no Advil. I don't take no Tylenol. I don't take nothing. I'm young. I'm 38 years old. I want to think that I'm healthy. Do I live a healthy lifestyle? Do I eat greens? Do I eat clean? I'm working on it. My diet consists of tacos, burgers, and pizza. Chicken, a lot of chicken. But it is my belief that if we go to the doctors just ruin us. Here, take this. Oh, and here, take this. And here, take this. And what do people do? What time is it? I need to take this. What time is it? I need to. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to sound cold-hearted, because there are people that, they do need to consume some sort of medication. I understand that. But if at an early age, such as my age, as a 35, 38-year-old man, starts depending on these things, what's going to happen to my body eventually? It's going to be dependent on it. And again, this is my personal belief, ladies and gentlemen. I am no MD. I am no nurse by no means. This is me personally. And maybe I'm wrong. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I respect that. I really do. But me personally, I don't take jack. I don't take nothing. If they tell me you need surgery, let me say a prayer. I believe in prayer. I believe in God. God will get me through this. Bob Marley, I think. Bob Marley, I'll give you a call, Matt. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bob Marley, I think he had cancer or something with his toe or something with his body. And what did he say? I'm not getting surgery. He believed in marijuana. Did marijuana cure him? No. But me personally, ladies and gentlemen, again, to each their own, me personally, I don't take medication. I don't take medicine. If I have a headache, I'll go work out. I'll go run. I'll do other things that I'm not supposed to say. But I'm not dependent on prescriptions. There was a time where the Xanax and all these pills were, I tried one time. That's not my thing. People like to black out. That's not me. I love life. I love to be aware of things. I know you're going to get mad at me, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for it, but I'd rather have a friend that's a marijuana user than one that is addicted to opioids. That one that consumes opioids. That's just me, ladies and gentlemen. That's just me. And I know I'm going to get a lot. Oh, Frankie and marijuana. Hey, man, I've never heard of someone that has killed someone in an automobile accident because he was high on weed. I've had friends that have died because of a drunk driver, either because of their own fault or a drunk driver's fault. That's why I don't go out at night. I don't go out to clubs and stuff like that. Have you seen Pablo Quisel lately? The circus that's out there. You want to be around that stuff? I don't. People can't control themselves. Now, would I go to a wedding? Would I go to a quinceañera, to an event? Yes, I will. I'll leave as soon as I can. Because people can't control themselves, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to be around that. To me, it's annoying to have somebody cry, I'm drunk. Oh, my goodness. Get me out of here, please. Maybe I'm cold-hearted. I don't know. But I'm real cut and dry. Like, let me cry on you. Get away from me, bro. What have we seen? What have we seen from Austin? Well, on the left, Dan Patrick was very happy about making House Bill 1325 the hemp bill. And what changed? On the right, we have how they're trying to shut down the entire industry and make it illegal after individuals and companies invested billions of dollars, ladies and gentlemen. Billions of dollars. So what happened in 6 years? Why was the lieutenant governor proud to endorse this bill? And now he's so quick and on the record of saying, this is evil. This is going to hurt the children. Because of big pharma. Because of big money, big interest groups. That's what it boils down to, ladies and gentlemen. It's always about that. Now, again, I'm not saying that kids should consume THC. Kids could consume marijuana. I'm not saying that. I don't want you to clip it. Ay, era Frankie. Mira, lo que dice. I am not saying that. What I am saying is, and you know that it's true, that today's generation is wild. Very wild. How many people have overdosed on Percocets? that were laced with fent. And Tucker is right. The best life to live is a drug-free life. It really is. That's why I encourage people, work out, exercise, eat clean, eat good, eat greens. Our body is our temple. If we drink, what's going to happen? It's going to lead to high cholesterol. It's going to lead to all these different complications, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to affect our body sooner or later. I've seen firsthand. I grew up with this stuff. I saw the bad effects of alcohol, and I promised myself, I'm not going to do that. Do I have one to celebrate? Yes, I shouldn't. I shouldn't. But do I have one for a wedding for a kid? Yes. But then I quickly get reminded of the people crying. I'm like, oh God, let's go. Today's generation, ladies and gentlemen, is out of control. I grew up in a generation where there was still respect. I remember one time I was 10 years old. And I always grew up with older kids. I always grew up with 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and I was 10 years old. I was exposed to a lot of things, which caused me to grow up faster. I saw things that I probably shouldn't have seen at a young age, but it taught me a lot. I had my first joint at 10 years old. My mom beat them. I can still remember to this day. She called me in and she's like, quítame de una duda. Dicen que estás fumando. ¿Es cierto? Yo sé que no, mijo. Mira, no te voy a pegar, no te voy a hacer nada. Nomás dime, mijo. Nomás quiero saber en qué fallé yo como madre. And I was just like, ¿no me vas a pegar? No, mijo, no. ¿Cómo crees? ¿Segura, ma? Sí, mijo, seguro, seguro. Bueno, ma, sí, fumé. ¡Huerco fregado! ¡Moco, moco, moco, moco! She beat the crap out of me. I remember that. It's still livid in my memory. I'll never forget that day. But there was respect growing up. There's no respect now. And you see it. You see, maybe you have, I hate to bring this up, maybe you have a nephew, maybe you have a cousin, maybe you have someone in the family, a family friend that you know que andan mal. You know it. And now it's not weed or cocaine. Now it's the hard stuff that this younger generation is on. Hard stuff that it's not easy to get off of it. I've never heard of a marijuana user say, "Oh my God, I'm addicted. I can't let it go." I've never heard of that. I never heard of a guy that smokes a blunt or a joint say, "Ya no me hallo. I need it. I need it. I need it." I never heard of someone like that. Again, I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying my opinion, my experience. So, what's going to happen in July? Because again, the governor vetoed this bill, which caused the lieutenant governor to freak out. Oh my God, kids are going to consume THC. They're going to get run over by a train. They're going to start shooting up schools, and it's going to be your fault, governor. I've never heard of someone high shoots. Well, we have anomalies, right, out there. But in July, it's going to be very crucial because how will lawmakers, who are they going to side with? Are they going to side with THC, hemp, which again benefits our seniors, which benefits our veterans? And if you haven't dealt with a veteran, ladies and gentlemen, some of those individuals, they suffer greatly from PTSD. And it's not pretty. It's very difficult. I just lost a friend of mine not too long ago, last week, who was a veteran. He served several tours in Iraq, and he came back and he's like, man, I have issues. And I didn't understand. I didn't know what to say. And I tried to be there for him. I would talk with him and he would smoke. But that is the issue that we as Texans will be dealing with. And look, you as a parent, you maybe have a very different opinion as I do. You know, you as a parent, you're probably like, well, I don't want my kids on marijuana. I don't want my kids on THC. You have every right to feel that way. But do you feel the same about alcohol? Which, in my opinion, alcohol is number one or number two. I will consider it a controlled substance, the top drug out there that is bad for your body, that is a danger to the society. I'll dare say that. In my opinion, I think alcohol is worse than marijuana, that is worse than other illicit substances, or just as bad, I'm sorry, just as bad as those illicit substances. Why? Because people, they hit women, domestic violence. They can't control their emotions. They want to fight. They're always angry. They crash into other people's vehicles. They don't have control of themselves. So I pose you the question, Brownsville. Cigarettes too. I you know, my respect to people that consume nicotine. I can't. I try. I try to. My friends again. I always hung out with older guys, older guys. Always. And they would dip, and drink. They would have and drink. I tried that one. I don't know how they do it. They dip, they spit, and they drink como si nada. And I was like, oh, let me try. I want to be cool. But to each their own. Again, everybody has a fix. If it's not sex, if it's not drugs, if it's not alcohol, if it's not cigarettes, if it's not porn, if it's not, I understand. We all have to get through life in our own way. I encourage you to exercise, to eat right, to do yoga, to meditate, to pray, and whatever you believe in, pray, because mental health is a very serious issue. And we all deal with mental health, with our issues regarding our mental health in different ways, in many different ways. And we try to consume substances or take part in activities that only damage our bodies, that have lasting effects in our lives. Alcalá makes an interesting point. He says alcoholism is a silent killer. Once you have a problem, you already lost a lot at that point. And again, I have known people that have lost their families, that have lost their jobs, that have lost so much because of alcohol, because of drugs. I don't want to be like that. Patricia Hernandez makes a great point. Meditate, pray, look for a higher being, a higher cause, find your purpose in life. You may laugh at me, but I think that Good Morning Brownsville, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. is my purpose. That is my high. That is my blunt in the morning. That is my joint in the morning. It motivates me. Ladies and gentlemen, I smoke 2 joints in the morning. I smoke 2 joints at night. A famous Sublime song that was popular in the 90s. Today, Texas is facing a very, very important issue as we move forward in July to the special legislative session at the Capitol. We have many important issues, but one of the biggest important issues, and look, I care about my seniors. I care about my veterans. They have ailing conditions. Why are we going to not give them options? I understand if you want to regulate this and say, you know what, kids, you're not allowed to consume this. I'm all for it. But don't take this away from our seniors. Don't take this away from our veterans. I don't want them to be dependent on pharmaceutical products. I don't want them to. Why? Because it affects their bodies ultimately in some way or another. I'm an insurance broker. I deal with insurance and pharmaceuticals and doctors on a daily basis. And it's not a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. We should give our seniors, we should give our veterans an opportunity to choose gummies, chips, and all kinds of stuff that is low enough to calm them down so they could be able to sleep. I don't want them to be addicted to opioids, to codeine, to the bad stuff that does effects to our bodies. What will happen in July? Only time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, I pride myself in giving you a wide variety of subjects that are important to you and your family. I'm not a one-trick pony. I will never be that for you. And I will never, ever drill one topic down your throats. Why? Because you're going to tune me out. I don't want you to tune me out. I want you to tune in. Somebody freaked out and said, Frankie, you smoke 2 joints in the morning, 2 joints at night? I was like, no, it's 2 blunts in the morning, 2 blunts. I'm joking. I'm joking, fam. I'm joking. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and your attention. I hope to see you here every day, Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. I will try my best to give you the very, very latest information on the very important issues that affect you, your family, and your loved ones. Remember, Brownsville, as long as you let me, I will be here in front of you to talk about the important issues. I will always give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, the black and the white, and I'll stay away from the gray area as much as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Peace!